Now, if you just saw a Tesla drive down the street, you would look at that and there wouldn't necessarily be anything that would attract you to that. 4 wheels, 4 doors, same colors as everyone else, traveling at the same speed. And so from a distance, that would not seem like a competitive advantage or something that would catch your attention, right? Because it's not styled different, okay? However, when you really start to get down to the details, now you understand the value. You understand that it's not just better, it's different. It's a different model. It's a different model in the technology. It's a different model in its value. It's a different model in maybe perhaps the market. We're now in a position where we are the Tesla of our industry. We are different. It's a different technology. It's a different value proposition. It's a different approach to customer engagement and team engagement. That's what excites me from a competitive point of view. Tesla does the same way. You have 4 doors, I have 4 doors. I can go 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. You can go to 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. That's kind of the feature to feature comparison. There's something much bigger than that. And that's where we are today. They're going to see a much different value proposition and something that's going to carry them much more quickly to the future. An example would be that on the Tesla side, for example, it would be you open up the trunk, there is no engine, right? There is a small electric motor, but there is no engine. In fact, on a Tesla, if you open up the front hood, it's trunk space, right? Because there's just no engine. In our world, you could compare that, for example, to microservices. Is that if you take our competitor's monolithic application and you open up the hood, it's very complex and it's monolithic and it's built to scale up, not scale out, and it's difficult to put in new features and functions. That's why they move at the rate they move. You open us up and all of a sudden, here's a whole series of very rich microservices. So you're right, from the outside it looks the same. Open the hood, it looks very different. So microservices is one example of that. Being policy and workflow driven, completely different, right? So for example, in the Tesla world, everything is through a touch screen. And because of that, it's a software-based car, which means that owners can get new updates to their car every 6 weeks, every 2 months. In Tesla, that's very common. Again, the analogy for us would be that it's use case driven, it's workflow driven, it's policy driven, as opposed to being hard-coded feature driven. So there's a lot of likenesses in those analogies. Our key is opening up the hood and opening up the doors for our customers so that they see the difference. It's how do we help them take a test drive? How, instead of them asking us about 0 to 60 speeds, we should be asking them, what are the problems we can help you solve? What are the use cases that you need our help with? So it's a different conversation. The value proposition is that an owner of a Tesla, when they plug it in at night, they wake up every morning and it's fully charged. There's very few people that have a normal car where they wake up every morning and it's full of gas, right? So that's a very different value proposition. When you get to the details of what we've done with Breeze, Oceanalytics, it is a very different value proposition. You don't measure it in the same way of traditional value. That's what omnichannel brings you. That's what multi-touch brings you. That's what being policy-based, being attribute-driven versus skills-based driven. That the value you can bring from that is virtually impossible from our competitors or from an older type of architecture or older type features. That's why we have to be able to talk value to our customers. Let's say that a customer says, in skills-based routing, okay, which is kind of the previous modern technology and what most of our competitors are based on, is I really cannot guarantee that I connect the perfect agent with my customer, right? I can match up a series of skills, but I can't get any more granular than that. Therefore, this is just not bringing me the ultimate value because I can't approach that perfection. In workflows and attribute-based routing, piece of cake, easy to do. And not only that, but you get to define what the attributes are, what the policies are around those attributes. So let me give you an example. If I'm in a contact center and I have 20 different skill groups, then that means that all of my agents are basically going to fit into one of 20 groups. Okay? If I had 10,000 agents, all 10,000 agents are going to be in one of 20 groups. If I take policy-based, attribute-based, my 20,000 agents can turn into 20,000 groups of one because they're all individuals. They all have, they have overlapping attributes, but at the same time, they all have unique combinations of attributes. I would much rather take my important, valuable customer coming into my contact center and get them to the perfect person with the right attributes. Think how valuable that is in the ability to support, in the ability to sell, in the ability for net promoter score, customer satisfaction, problem resolution. I mean, think how valuable that is to a much more generic approach. The devil's in the details. It isn't until you open up the hood and you really understand workflows, attributes, the use cases that you can implement that with that versus those same use cases that you cannot implement in a very traditional way. That's just one example. There's many, many different examples of value.